which I'll now get underway. So couple of matters before we get to our guests today. I'd like to remind everyone that Digital Twin Week is imminent, 18th to the 22nd of October. It's scheduled in. You can head to the Digital Twin Hub for further information, or head straight to digitaltwinweek.com. Either way, you'll get there, be able to take a look at what's on offer. Let me highlight a couple of opportunities. I'd like to just quickly share some of the highlights. We've got over 20 sessions this year. We had 12 last year over 5 days, or 13 sessions last year over 5 days. It was a great week. It was very busy. So we've decided to do more of the same this year. We've introduced a couple of new really interesting sessions. We've got some more informal networking. We've got a cafe session just to kick off Digital Twin Week on the Monday morning. And then on the Wednesday and Friday around lunchtime, we've got a networking lounge. So some nice sort of more slower paced networking opportunities there. We've got some really important roundtables, which, you know, we're excited to jump into on the Monday afternoon, education and research roundtable. We've got a local government only roundtable on the Thursday for any councils that are on the call. And then on the Friday morning, we've got a standards workshop. We're going to talk through the idea of a digital twin standards roadmap for Australia and New Zealand, scattered throughout a whole range of industry sessions. Got some really interesting new designs in there. On the Thursday morning, 8 till 10, the big build. We're going to be taking a real life urban growth area and actually working through the core digital twin capabilities in a real life sort of scenario. So we're excited about that session and a range of others. We'll be having an afternoon, evening session with the Centre for Digital Built Britain in the UK. We've got an exchange with the European Commission on the Tuesday early evening, and all the digital twin work that's happening in their program. So a lot there to consume. So feel free to jump into the hub at any time. You can register now. We've got a weekly pass that you can purchase, or of course individual sessions. And I will highlight that, of course, a number of the sessions are also complimentary as well. Let me just head back to the presentation then for a moment. Again, I wouldn't be doing my job if I reiterated our view of defining a digital twin at the Smart Cities Council, looking at it through the lens of capability. We continue to sort of advance what this looks like, what it can be, through programs such as the Digital Twin Challenge. And for those that are tracking the Digital Twin Challenge, again, that information is on the hub. Things are moving well there. 3 projects I just wanted to quickly highlight. Project 6 is underway, which is development of a guidance note for accelerating sustainability through the use of digital twins. Project 8, which is developing a digital twin education program for organisations. That's now sort of early scoping has been done on that. It's going to be an open source, essentially mega slide deck that all of government and industry will have access to, that you can go in and you can take out bits and pieces, you can adapt. So that's an exciting project within the challenge. And then Project 11, and you will see a lot more of this. This is the real life project as part of Digital Twin Week. The big build is Project 11. We're doing a pilot of a digital twin really focused around urban planning and urban design on a community township in the municipality of Lake Macquarie City Council down in New South Wales, so the town of Morisset. All good urban challenges happening there: density, population growth. It's a major sort of transportation hub with a rail line there. We've got landscape issues, flooding issues, growth issues, community issues. A really great project to sort of sink our teeth into. So we'll continue to share updates around the Digital Twin Challenge and showcase now and then many of the 13 projects that are underway. And of course, throughout Digital Twin Week, you'll get more exposure to those. The last bit for me to share with you before I hand over to our guests is the Digital Twin use case exchange that we've set up on the hub. If you head to the hub, and you'll see the exchange little menu bar up the top, you can click on that. And one of the options you've got is to click use cases. And we've set up a form, a register for different use cases. You can opt in and share a use case, either potential or existing. There's about 10 to 12 questions that we're asking. It's based on a sort of a standard ISO use case template, so quite common. What are the challenges that the use case is trying to address? Key stakeholders, what technology and data enablers, any gaps you're seeing. So if you'd like to share a use case, regardless of how sort of complete it is, please jump on and have a look at that form, potentially share that. We'll get it up on the hub for others to see and learn from. Only then are we going to really accelerate advancement towards a greater level of uptake for digital twin approaches across the region. So please jump onto the hub and take a look at that. With that, let me now pause for a moment on my slide sharing. I'd like to introduce two of our Digital Twin Task Force members, Daniel Diderect and Nathan Quadros. Daniel is Senior Digital Project Manager from DBM Vircon, based here in Brisbane, where I am, and Nathan Quadros is out of Melbourne with Veris as their digital and spatial lead. Their brief is they have 7 minutes each to share what they're up to. And then after that, it's all our job to sort of share our comments and thoughts, reactions and things like that, so that we can gather more intelligence and really see where the marketplace is at. So with that, Daniel, I'm going to hand it straight over to you. You're going to go first, and then Nathan will come straight behind you. But I'll pause there. Daniel, thanks so much. Over to you.
Thanks, Adam. Cheers. You guys got that screen?
That's up, all good. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks very much for having me today. We come out of the digital engineering space, both for resources, commercial and civil infrastructure. So just like to jump straight to some themes around the future. So 10 years into the future, I've had a bit of a think about the key aspects. It's all about creating classified databases out of these major infrastructure projects. Obviously, we've got the algorithms to analyze, creating physical assets using digital representations, and then the whole regulatory space where digital assets are becoming more and more defined and regulated by governments. These are the guideposts. Most of you people here would be quite familiar with some of these pieces. I'm really coming at this from a standard infrastructure delivery space, but I'm overlaying onto business as usual, how I see things, say maybe 10 years in the future. I think a key piece is the business case for the operational digital assets. So creating a dollar value for the model, then diving into procurement. I think it's only a matter of time before smart contracts are used for construction delivery. Moving through design into approved for construction, I think we need to see models at that point being hashed so that they become a specific, unique deliverable that then is linked into the contractual process. Moving through construction to as-built site verification, you get the surveyors adding their signature basically to the model, having that hashed again, and then moving through completion and contractual closeout to a digital asset with provenance. So a complete history to that digital asset tied to that construction contract delivery. And once you have that single model or set of models coming out of a particular infrastructure delivery project, that then is your basis for moving forward. It's good to create digital models basically as a complete database. So that would mean having a completely classified suite of assets, which is defined up front, specified up front. And of course, coming out of projects with something like this that can then be potentially shared later. So the old model for doing this was creating a complex BIM model, transferring that into a asset management or operations type database, something like IBM Maximo, SAP. That's business as usual today. There's still not many platforms that can actually handle 3D models, but that's basically where we're at right now, moving to the new model. We're doing research at the moment into Azure and how to push models into this. It is already a sort of an off-the-shelf platform suitable for IoT data. We've done work with prior clients where we have put together a complete architecture for such a database. And of course, you also need a front end. So things like Cesium, Unreal, and Luciad are perfect for that. It's really just changing the way that we consume a highly complex database. And of course, business as usual today is we have quite detailed models and asset parameters pushed through to project completion, but the systems that they move into are much less sophisticated and also don't need that level of resolution. So that's a massive lost opportunity. If we move into a graph database, we retain the relationships, and we also make that interface suitable for not just asset management, but also delivering services to either the public or different users in research and private and government. So that's a lot about data structure. And I think the future in terms of thinking about digital twin is going to be all about data transactions. So once we have that unit, that digital asset unit, you need some sort of platform. So that's where thought pieces like the Department of Resources framework for spatially enabled digital twins comes into play. So the bottom box there is really our current bread and butter, our standard business as usual. And then they have gone to some level of thought to think about how different users and custodians might transact the data. So what we need to get to is a situation where we have data asset owners sharing their data via transaction platform with a host of different users. The current model that we have, so going back to the original, this image here, that digital twin implementation, most platforms say Azure at the moment, I mean, it's all about one individual organization making use of their own data for their own purposes. So moving past that to a transaction type scenario is key. So how can we do that? Things like blockchain, there's a fair amount of thought going into blockchain integration for digital twin at the moment.
1 minute to go, Daniel.
Yep, got that. Almost there. And I think things like the hash process, so we're stuck in a 2D world right now. So hashing models, it really has to be linked to actual drawings right now, this exact point in time. That's something we're doing with Brisbane Metro project, where you actually hash the model, but then put that onto the 2D and then allow digital signatures to create that provenance. And then moving into opportunities, we've got computer vision, AI for build AI, do some great construction phase implementations. And then logistics is really one of the few sectors that currently use augmented reality for service delivery, but I think that will massively expand. And then there's people like, rappers delivering concerts using augmented reality or virtual reality as well at the moment. And then traceability as a service. So moving into ESG, there's some really amazing companies out there that are allowing blockchain and digital twin to create that traceability for the full life cycle. And then of course, sharing digital assets by non-owners. I think using blockchain is probably one of the smartest ways to do it. So thanks very much.
Daniel, that's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing a whole bunch of insights and ideas and sort of glimpses into what you're thinking about and what you think is on the horizon. Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing. Encourage anyone with questions or comments to throw them in the chat box. There's already one in there already. Daniel, you might want to sort of respond to those as we go through. But for now, let's hand over to our second guest for today. Nathan, over to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Daniel, as well. That was cracking. I saw the Civic Ledger business aspect.
Those guys are legends, absolute legends.
Yeah, I might follow up with you on that. That's terrific. I'll take a slightly different angle and just show just a couple of narrow use cases to do with some of the technologies that we use at Veris. So I'll just share my screen now. So we do a lot of spatial data and survey capture using some of the latest technology out there. So we're a sort of leading provider around Australia of spatial data services, have sort of 500 staff and cut across sort of various applications as well. The two technologies that I'll focus on, mobile laser scanning is the first one, and really centrally located around the two applications I'll show, really focusing on road assets at the moment, which has really been a focus of mine and working with a lot of different clients around the road and curb and footpath. And we know that's sort of central, as Adam talks about, for e-commerce and the way the curb is going to change into the future with the shared economy and things like that. So we've got a mobile laser scanner. It gathers billions of points when it drives along a road to create a 3D model, a point cloud. It has 8 cameras on board that we can point wherever they want to the pavement, to different assets, and a 360 degrees sort of bug-eye lens on top to get your panoramic imagery. So you get a really complete picture of that. In fact, right now, we're looking at bringing out a subsurface scanner behind the vehicle from Europe later on this year to also scan subsurface at the same time to start picking out broad sweeps of subsurface utilities, which there aren't any of these scanners available in Australia at the moment. The second technology I was going to touch on is how, when you integrate types of technology, so we've got a suite of drones across our fleet, from LiDAR drones to autonomous drones and some of the photogrammetric drones. So we'll just jump out of this now and show you two particular examples. One is we're now starting to push all this data online. So this example here is in Footscray in Melbourne. There's a new development for Footscray Hospital in here. So we've driven these roads here with the mobile laser scanners, generated a mesh and loaded these online. And so part of this is a dilapidation survey of these particular roads. And what we're able to do is load the MLS data in, and the unique aspect of it, when you can push it through the browser, anyone can jump in and start to have a look at that. Then you've got combined the 360 degree imagery and the imagery from the directional cameras, as long as with the point cloud from the laser scanners there. So we could potentially, through this browser, then click on any of these sort of areas here. You can start to get the images. And so what you uniquely can do is both interact with both the imagery and point clouds. Usually these data sets are quite separate in most bits of software, and you'll get your imagery sort of in a Windows Explorer kind of folder. And it's actually quite hard to sift through and find the locations of those images. We can also, through this, start to run AI algorithms over here that can detect things like cracks and other features in here. So you might have a crack located in here. You can then have metadata associated with this crack. You can then export some of this data. You can have a look at some of these images here, zoom in potentially on that, have a look at these particular areas. If you want to make notes about this, it's great to have something online where you can start to put some basic info around some of those. So these are starting to happen in the urban space. What I found really useful is when this cuts across to something like the natural environment too. So in Tasmania, there's a road located there around Paradise Gorge. This Paradise Gorge one is a really interesting case study where these rocks sit above this road here and a real danger in terms of landslide for these roads. So by driving the MLS here and getting drone data, we're able to create a twin of this environment. And then on these rocks too, you can then start to put monitoring equipment. So we've got monitoring equipment on the other side of the river, monitoring this face. You've then got equipment sitting on some of these rocks that you're able to then pick up that detail, and you're able to convey that to people in the field when they go out there where they're meant to put the monitoring sort of stuff. They're able to interact with this data through that. You can then look at sort of the raw images. If I click here, you can start to bring up those images, and it's really then provides a platform to extract additional value as people are able to collaborate, start sharing this data with colleagues and other stakeholders as they go through these sorts of data sets. So we've found sort of this online platform is becoming more and more popular for our stakeholders as well. That image has taken a while to load, but then you can load these raw images and you can zoom in. That's probably only at 10% zoom. You can really start to zoom in on all these images to extract a lot more information. Once you start marking it up, if you use something like the ability to draw on this, you can draw polygons and points and things like that and start to record asset information and then export that to potential users as well. How did I go, Adam? Is that within my 7 minutes?
That's great. You still got another minute and a half if you wanted to consume it, or we could see if the audience want to ask any questions. But up to you, Nathan. Do you want to sort of finish it off, Taylor?
Yeah. Oh, look, probably the other aspect I'd sort of highlight is when you start to go into starting to manage your data, and this is where it sort of probably cuts across to some of the stuff Daniel was talking about earlier, which is really useful in terms of even hashing and various other things, which is taking it to a new level. But this is just even at the basic end, is just centralizing the data in a place where people can log into rather than losing hard drives below a desk, as a lot of people do. Having a login, having the data located on the cloud, being able to click into that, find all the data sets there, click into whatever those data sets might be, discover all your files within those data sets. And sometimes I find we try to sell a lot of the more advanced technologies, but when we wind back and have discussions with our clients, it's often just the basic things of having data located in a central spot and easy to find and just share with others is mostly what they're looking for. That's it from me, Adam.
Nathan, thanks so much for that. That was awesome between Daniel and yourself. Very interesting, if not fascinating. Chris Body's got a question here. Nathan, real-time monitoring, lighting up that with any real-time monitoring. Are you doing that? Are you seeing any demand for that?
Yeah, there's more and more inquiries about that at the moment. So the monitoring is more, a lot of our team differentiate that from IoT. I sort of struggle with that. I don't think it's the real-time streaming of data, but the monitoring is that displacement. Now that's either done through sensors on the actual asset, or we can point laser scanners or various other things of the asset, which are streaming those measurements in real time through to a particular server. So the sensors we use in the environment are sort of your sensitive sensors, otherwise we'll use sort of Trimble equipment. We've got monitoring equipment, as I sort of said, focusing on that rock face. We've got some sort of stuff in Melbourne Metro Tunnel, looking at that and streaming that 24/7.
Yeah, awesome. Friends, questions, comments, take yourself off mute, use the chat box. Chris continues here. How will we progress from 2D to 3D, 4D? Maybe a question. I'll get comment from both Nathan first and then Daniel after that.
I think we've already progressed it in a visualization sense. I just don't think we've done it in an analytics sense. All the instances I've seen so far of the 3D and 4D is we're able to visualize it, but there's nowhere near it brings the same sort of analysis and scenario and modeling that we can do in a 2D GIS until we get to that stage of analytics. And look, it'll come soon. It's just not there yet. I just don't think we'll fully engage in 3D.
Yeah. Okay. Daniel, you got a response to that one?
Yeah. I mean, coming at it from a design angle, I mean, a lot of design still happens in 2D, and the deliverables are 2D in terms of just schedules of information and schematics and things. So the 3D geometry and 3D analysis, it's great for a certain proportion of review and understanding, but we're still not quite there in terms of, there is some software that can be implemented, but the thing is that we need to wait for legislation and other areas to catch up with the technology as well.
This is Chris. That's a good point about legislation and so forth. But sooner or later, we're going to, the more that we're still stuck in 2D, the greater a leap to 3D and 4D. So where's this going to be pushed along a bit faster than just waiting? And that's, I'm afraid that it's going to be too long in some areas, that we're going to really struggle.
We need pragmatists, and we need people that, you know, to me, I come at it from a contractual angle. If you have a commercial team that has no clue about technology, literally defining a project process up front that everybody must adhere to, and yet they're not conducting a review of the latest technology capability when they are defining that process, we're going to be stuck in 2D forever. So we need the commercial and the legal to be reviewing latest technology when they are defining contracts up front, so that those processes and workflows that are literally defined word for word in the contract actually reflect the latest technological capability.
Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. Nathan, can I get you to quickly comment? And also, Craig's put a great question in there that I'll throw to you, funding the online storage for those large data sets. But yeah, Nathan, over to you quickly. We've got 60 seconds.
Oh, that's a massive issue. We're finding, even in the data transfer too, I mean, you've got so much cost involved in transferring data, and even our bandwidth is limited in even doing that. I think when we can pass on enough of those costs that people are willing to pay for in terms of speed and rapid transfer, then we'll start to get progress on it. But at the moment, the lowest cost solutions aren't necessarily going to fund cloud-based storage and transfer of the data. And we're talking about massive volumes of data. It's still a massive hindrance in this country.
Yeah.
Especially spatial data sets are just humongous. So yeah, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah. We can't get it up fast enough to the cloud in terms of what our clients need. So we're always trying to work through some workarounds as well, which isn't ideal.
Yeah. Nathan, Daniel, thanks so much for joining us. Friends, we're at time. It's 12:30 on my clock here. That's our 30 minutes, our rapid monthly gathering. If you enjoyed this conversation, there's a week's worth of it coming up later in October. Again, encourage you to head to the Digital Twin Hub to find out more about Digital Twin Week. Otherwise, have an awesome week. Stay safe, stay COVID-free. We look forward to hopefully seeing you next month at Digital Twin Week. Thanks, Nathan, Daniel, and everyone for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.